But for a generation of viewers, Carol's finest half hour will always be Countdown.
Long way to go, 871.
And the key to his popularity was Carol's remarkable on-screen relationship with its anchorman, Richard Whiteley.
I was going to call you...
Carol Vordeman.
She said it. Carol Vordeman.
Even Richard's partner referred to Carol as his TV wife.
She could take the mickey out of him. But likewise, he could take the mickey out of her.
No, it's Friday, Richard.
It's not. It's Monday today. Oh, it's Friday today.
Outside the studio, they had partners. But inside the studio, there was a kind of intimacy. It was the best kind of love affair, you know? All the excitement, but none of the touching. Whoa, great.
But after an incredible 23 years presenting together, in June 2005, Richard Whiteley contracted a virus and died suddenly. Carol was distraught. Her grief was captured in the moving eulogy she recorded as an introduction for Richard's final programmes.
Hello, Countdowners. I know we're all in a state of shock about the very sad news about Richard. And, it's really odd to think that the man who's been here, the mayor in the chair for 23 years, won't be here anymore. Remember him as we remember him, and the clock stopped too soon.
She delivered those lines to camera, and the moment she finished, she broke down in tears. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see. It was such a brave thing for her to do.
It was the first loss, I think, that Carol had, a major loss in her life, and she was absolutely devastated by it. Broke her heart.
Even now, it's obviously incredibly
really
emotional for you.
Yeah, I loved him.
How did you hear the news that he'd died?
Our exec producer rang. Cathy had rung Claire, who was our boss, and I was at home. I lived in London at the time, and I knew he'd gone in for his operation. He had a heart operation, and I'd spoken to Cathy immediately after, and she said it was the first bit of good news that we'd had the day before, which was that that the surgeon had thought the operation had gone very well and hadn't taken as long as they'd thought, and that was the first time in about 6 weeks that I kind of felt that there was anything to feel joyous about. And then the next day I didn't hear anything. I was at somebody's house, and I was shaking with nerves, and I just kind of I was just worried about him, and then I was at home and the kids gone to bed, and Claire rang to say. But it still hurts, as you can tell, very much. I mean, I loved him. I really loved him.
He really was one of the nicest people.
He was fantastic.
I mean, it's an old cliche, but he was just... I met him a couple of times. He was just Mr. Nice Guy, wasn't he?
He was more than just nice. He was funny. And, like we were saying in North, you belly laughed together, and every time we were in the studio together, I would cry laughing at some point. It was just a complete and utter joy to be with him, and we loved each other, really. Not in that way. It was, just a genuine, pure thing. He was just wonderful. And when Richard died, there was just some very strange coincidences that happened. Just strange things. He said for the first time ever, and you've got to remember, we'd done nearly 5,000 programmes together. He said, "Welcome to the final countdown." And I went mad from my end. Don't you dare say that. And he said, "Oh, I mean, the countdown final." And I just didn't like it. And then the conundrum came up, the word falsified. But the way they jumbled it up to give to the contestants was life fades. And it was just and that was his last programme. It was just, it was quite extraordinary, because I know there are only coincidences, but it was a horrible time and a lot of grief.
What kind of guy was he, for those who didn't know him?
Richard. Well, let me tell you. He was funny. He was a bit pompous in the early years. And he said, and I can remember the first time I insulted his jackets. Do you remember he used to wear those terrible jackets?
Terrible jackets.
Dreadful. Green and yellow stripe, and then he'd wear a check shirt underneath and a spotted tie, and he thought that was normal.
Everything wrong.
Everything wrong. He loved playing the buffoon. I mean, he was an intelligent guy, as you know. But he always tripped himself up, and there were things that he did and he didn't mean to do. So there was a classic time when he wore ties. People used to send him in god-awful ties. I mean, really awful ties. Anyway, this lady, for our Christmas special, however many years ago it was, sent him in a tie, and she painted... He said, "Oh, just look at this tie." This is outside. Look at this, how beautiful this tie is. It's silk. It's dark green silk, and she's painted on countdown in these gorgeous letters, countdown all the way down this tie. And look, and there's a Christmas tree there, and I'm going to wear it on the special programme. Oh, marvellous. So we recorded the programme, and Richard wore this tie, pointed it all out, and it was marvellous. Anyway, the programme went to air and was transmitted the next day. Whiteley in swearing shocker. And what had happened, it said countdown, he'd sat behind the desk, the down had disappeared, and his microphone had gone over the O. And we did the whole show
I
like that.
I remember that. That was a classic story.
Absolute classic.
Fabulous.
Only Whiteley.